To start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Mavs evening up the series. Dallas taking down the Clippers last night. That series is now a game apiece. Luka was impressive, finishing with 28, 8, and 7 in just 28 minutes of play. Kawhi put up a 35-point double-double in the loss. All right, Nick, what is the key to this series now moving forward?
Well, the question, Broussard, to misquote Marshall Mathers, is will the real Los Angeles Clippers please stand up? Or have they actually been standing up all season, and folks such as yourself been like, no. It's the people, if they're behind them. No, it's not, no, they're going to, we'll see them. Don't worry. Once the playoffs, well, once game 3 of the playoffs. The second round if they get there. So listen, maybe you'll be right. Maybe they'll come out the rest of the series and be like, we've just been coasting for the entire year. Or maybe they have real issues, Broussard.
Another thing about young analysts like Nick is that they think whichever team won the last playoff game is going to win the series. Oh, now it's the Mavs. No. The Mavs are the best team in the NBA now. They're unguardable.
I have to respond to this. Okay.
Go ahead.
Broussard, my prediction before the series was Clippers in 6, and that in game 6, the Mavericks would have a fourth quarter lead and fall apart. I have not changed my prediction. I have not said this morning the Mavericks are going to win the series. You said it was going to be a gentleman's sweep. They're going to have no issues. Mike, the problem with older analysts, evidently, is they act like the games don't matter. This is what the Clippers should be. So what actually happens on the court, it doesn't change. Whatever I believe it on Monday, whatever happens on Tuesday is not going to affect what I believe Wednesday. Okay, it's one way to go about it. I think it's foolish. So that's just my take, Chris Broussard.
All right, let me break it down. Here's what the Clippers. Go ahead.
Well, it's only foolish when it's every other team except the Lakers. That is a valid theory when it's the Lakers, but every other team that's not valid. Go ahead, Broussard.
No, the Clippers just have to bring their A game. That's all they have to do. Mentally lock in and get ready.
Let's move on to this series.
Mentally lock in. I'm rushed.
Game 2, Celtics Sixers. Jason Tatum, play of career high 33 for Boston. Joel Embiid gave the Sixers a 34-point double-double. That wasn't enough. Celtics get the easy win to go up 2-0 in the series. Broussard, we'll go back to you. This was a tough game to watch if you were a Sixers fan. What do you think was their biggest issue in their loss yesterday?
Well, look, obviously without Ben Simmons, they can't guard. They're not the defensive team that they were with him. He's arguably the best defensive player in the league, and Jason Tatum just had his way. But beyond that, on the offensive end, they couldn't hit threes. And despite Ben not shooting threes, they're actually a fairly good three-point shooting team regularly. But yesterday, they were 5 of 21 from 3. And Boston, on the other side, hit 19 threes. So that's too big of a discrepancy to overcome without one of your best players.
I know we're going to talk more about the Sixers' deep, long-term troubles later. But on this one, and it makes me feel good because whether the audience believes it or not, I deeply love and adore Chris Broussard. I agree with everything he said. The lack of Ben Simmons in this series to guard Jason Tatum, to have a great wing defender out there, a great wing defender in 2020. Not like the Kawhi Leonard type of great wing defender where you were great in 2017 and now we just say you are. A truly great wing defender right now. Not having him absolutely kneecapped him in this series, Wilds. And for the Sixers, the issues are far deeper than just this series, Wilds.
Well, that's what I was going to say. And Jenna, you mentioned it was a hard to watch. If we can show up what I think was the defining image of this game. This is a playoff game. This is
I thought it was
game
going to be a
2,
picture of
and
me
we've got this poor guy. Well, honestly, once I saw this, I'm like, I don't feel good for the front office. I don't feel good about Brett Brown. You cannot have this type of stuff popping up in a playoff game. It's just like you need fundamental changes throughout the entire organization. I think they're in a very bad spot that goes far beyond Ben Simmons.
Yeah, we're going to break this down a little bit further, what the Sixers have moving forward. But let's get back to the first round fears for the Lakers and Blazers. Game 2, it's tonight. It's LeBron looking to get back on track after the Lakers' poor offensive outing Tuesday's loss. Also on the Lakers' to-do list, stopping Dame Lillard. That little thing. Nick, I imagine
happen.
you've spent the last 48 hours analyzing, overanalyzing this from every angle. What adjustments do the Lakers have to make if they want to even up this series tonight?
Well, I wouldn't change anything defensively. I think if you're the Lakers, the one thing you can take away in a very positive fashion from game one is this Blazers team that was hanging 125 on everybody. You held them to 64 points in quarters 2 through 4. They didn't break 23 points in any quarter other than the first quarter. And so if the Lakers can sign up, the Blazers scored 100 in game one. The Lakers would sign up right now for the Blazers scoring 105 in every game the rest of the series. So defensively, I wouldn't change much of anything. Offensively, I think that you have to seriously consider a starting lineup change, the one I've been calling for since Avery Bradley went down. KCP's been excellent for the Lakers this year, not 2 days ago, but this year. But put him back on the bench role and see what it looks like with Caruso next to LeBron. The best starting lineup, of course, would be Anthony Davis at center. He doesn't want to start games like that, so you have to tweak it elsewhere. And the other thing, Broussard, is I would stop with all these giant lineups at all times. I'm not saying JaVale can't play, but he should play less. And Markieff Morris, why he was had such a featured role in game one, I would adjust that as well. I don't think your defense will suffer dramatically, and I think your offense will get better. So those are the adjustments, if I were the Lakers, Broussard, I would make.
I agree with you defensively. The Lakers were fine defensively. Dame, CJ, Carmelo Anthony, Gary Trent Jr., none of them really were on fire throughout the game. Now, Dame obviously got hot early in the fourth quarter, and then, Trent and the guys hit a couple big shots, but they weren't shooting their normal percentage throughout the game. So the defense was fine. Offensively, Nick, here's one thing I think you failed to mention. LeBron James has got to be more scoring-minded, okay? He played a terrific floor game, 23 points, 17 rebounds, 16 assists. That was all well and good. But his teammates can't shoot, okay? So outside of Anthony Davis, he is not getting a lot of scoring. So he is going to have to look to score more as well as be a facilitator. And that's where your lineup change of putting Caruso in there could help that, in that LeBron would play off the ball a little more, presumably, and then maybe be more in the scorer's mentality. Now, if the guys show up and start hitting shots, we know they're streaky. If Danny Green and KCP are on fire, then LeBron can just be the floor general. But if they're not shooting well, he has got to score more. 23 points for him is low. So I need a little more from LeBron. And AD, I need something in the fourth quarter. I mean, I've been saying it all year. He's got to give you something in the fourth quarter. This 2.5 to 3 quarters of being a superstar and then disappearing and being a role player in the fourth is not enough. So I need more.
You guys are in trouble. You guys are in trouble. Tomorrow's going to be a great show. You guys are both in trouble. And Nick, all I heard the other day was the Lakers just need to shoot. Once the Lakers shoot better, the Lakers will win. And now you give all the credit to the Lakers defense because the Blazers didn't shoot well. Look at the Blazers. They made 100 points, worse. Their field goal percentage was the worst. Three-pointers they made 13, and they had the worst assist-to-turnover ratio, and they still won. So once they get back to their normal Blazer thing, they're going to win again. I think you guys are in deep trouble, Nick. And then tomorrow's show, I'll give you the topic bar for tomorrow's show. Nick, are you nervous yet if the Lakers lose?
Okay, but again,
he said he would be mildly nervous if they lose game 2.
Correct. I would be. If they lose tonight, then you got to beat them 4 out of 5, and it starts getting a little anxious. But your graphic is so silly. They shot 39% from 3. The reason that they had their worst field goal percentage was because they couldn't hit anything near the rim, because that's what the Lakers do to you defensively. The difference between that and the Lakers hitting shots is, if you watch the game, the Lakers had unguarded 3 after unguarded 3 after unguarded 3. The Blazers weren't missing wide open shots. They were missing contested looks. So to me, that is major difference. Broussard, though, to your point about LeBron being more aggressive, we will find out if LeBron thinks this is a must-win game. If he does, he will be more aggressive. When the 2018, when they lost, well, no, I mean, that's what if he thinks they can lose this game and still win the series, I don't think he'll change his approach at all, because that approach was intentional.
You gotta be kidding me.
But you saw in 2018 with that Cavs team, the first game of the playoffs, he had a 24-point triple-double. They lost. He responded in game 2 with 46 points in the game-winning 3. Couple rounds later, against the Celtics, he took 16 shots in game 1. They lost. He responded in game 2 with 42. Now, they lost that game as well, came back to win the series. So I think that if the Lakers are trailing in the second half, you're going to see a more aggressive LeBron. I would be shocked if to start the game today, you see anything other than LeBron trying to get Anthony Davis going. I think that will be his approach. I think that will be his approach until AD gets going, even if folks want him to be more aggressive.
Well, we will find out in 13 hours when those two take the court. From one LA team to the next, Paul George may have had an off night, but he's confident his Clippers team can bounce back. Next, first things first, maybe it's 12.